If you're an agency owner doing between 10 to 30K a month in 2026, then you want to continue watching this video, because if you are currently relying on referrals, networking, and cold DMs for all of your acquisition, and you're still stuck being the bottleneck within your agency because you have to fulfill for all of your clients and you feel like you never have the time, then continue watching this video and I'm going to help you maybe sort that out. And if you don't take action on this, whether or not you watch my video or someone else's, your agency could literally go out of business this year. And it's interesting because you aren't actually bad at the work. You are probably good at what you do. But unfortunately, it's no longer about being the best agency now. It's about being the best known. And this is the exact reason why so many agencies out there are stuck between 10 to 30K a month. Like, they just can't get out of that loop. Now, before I move on with the video, why should you listen to me? Well, I've scaled through agencies past $50,000 a month, and I've done so with paid ads and a fulfillment team where I didn't become the bottleneck within the agency, and I did it where, you know, I play paddle once, 2 times, 3 times a week with my boys. I don't have to be in the weeds of the business. I focus on the most high leverage task within the business to grow it. I'm actively working on the business, not in the business, and I'm doing so in a way where I've optimized it for profit and I'm not burning myself out and I'm not living a miserable life. So yeah, continue watching this video. Now, the first thing that you have to understand in 2026 is that you cannot continue to rely on referrals, networking, cold DMs, because those are all unscalable methods for acquisition. Obviously, if you're a beginner between 0 to 10K a month, continue doing referrals, networking, cold DMs, because that's what's going to drive you business. But once you've gotten past 10K a month, you want to start building something predictable, whether or not it relies on your input or not, so that you could start building a little bit more leverage within the agency, right? Unfortunately, referrals, networking, cold DMs, that's not going to get you there if you're between that 10 to 30K a month mark, because your time is attached to it. You are busy, you have stuff to do, and the more time that you spend at these networking events, the less time you can focus on fulfillment, right? And you're the bottleneck within your agency. So how do you expect to solve fulfillment and acquisition at the same time? That's why you need to build a system. And honestly, even outside of you being the bottleneck and solving acquisition and fulfillment within your agency, you have to understand that acquisition costs are rising. Competition is rising. So if you don't have a system, you will be left behind. And finally, the better system that you have for growing your agency in terms of acquisition and fulfillment, the better system your clients will have as well. Now that I've mentioned the importance of building a system for your agency in terms of acquisition, I want to explain exactly where you're at right now, right? You are probably in a spot where you're making 10 to 30K a month, you have this inconsistent acquisition, but at the same time, all of the clients that you do have, you are good at fulfillment, but it's like you are just burning yourself out and you are stuck like in the weeds of the business every single day, and you have made the mistake of not realizing that sales and fulfillment are completely different things, and those are actually 2 different jobs that you can't play. Because if you want to scale out of this 30K a month loop and break out of this barrier, you're going to have to figure out a way where you can actually take on 2 jobs at the same time. And one you can systemize, and then one you can put more of your time into in terms of like manual effort and like what actually requires you as the founder to be in the business. And the problem is that so many agency owners think that, no, you know what, I'll handle the fulfillment and the sales and the acquisition. It's not going to be that hard, right? But then they get to that 30K a month mark and they make money, right? But the problem is that they've built a job for themselves, right? They haven't built an agency. And at that point, the problem is that they're no longer the founder of the business. They're just a high-paid employee within it. And that is the 10 to 30K a month loop. You can't solve acquisition, but all the time that you needed to be spending on acquisition, you spend on fulfillment. And because of that, you end up just burning yourself out. And because you're spending all of your time on fulfillment, you can never grow. So the first thing that you need to do is implement paid ads within your agency. And the reason why I say this is because for agencies specifically, not like coaches or guys in the info, like if you're a coach or info guy, don't watch this video. This is for agency owners only. If you're an agency owner, you want to run paid ads because honestly, from what I've seen in terms of all these different acquisition channels, paid ads produces the best results in the shortest period of time. And you need money quick, so paid ads is what's going to get you there. And the beauty of paid ads is that once you've cracked it, it's a system. It works on its own. It books you a predictable number of calls every single day. And all you have to do is just calculate your show rate and close rate. You know that XYZ amount of people will show up from these calls, and XYZ amount of people from the ones that did show, I will close. That's it. That's the beauty of paid ads, and that's how it's supposed to work as an acquisition system within your agency. Now, there's a couple of things that you want to understand with paid ads. You don't just run an ad straight to like a crappy website. You have to have a qualifying funnel that brings in a higher level of prospect to your calls, right? Because you don't just want to be taking calls with anyone. You want to be taking calls with your exact ICP. And that obviously requires separate market research, which I'm not going to jump into because that's a whole separate video in itself. But your funnel is supposed to qualify your leads, right? So the goal of it is to qualify them on ICP. Like, are they your target audience? Are they financially qualified to afford your services? Are they legit business? So, for example, you could maybe collect a website. Are they looking to get something started now so you can qualify them on intent through the funnel, right? So all of these different things is what your funnel should be qualifying them on. Now, aside from the funnel, you also want to make sure that you have automated SMS and email attached to it. So every single time a prospect gets to the next step and the next step and the next step in your funnel and it continues to qualify them, the SMS and the email are attached to it and it nurtures them. And even if they don't book in a call or if they don't continue to opt in, as long as you grab some information from them in the funnel, it has that info now. And so that system and those nurture emails and those nurture SMS can continue to basically do long-term follow-up with that prospect. And the beauty of that is that now that you've captured their info, maybe they might not even book in a call. And maybe they booked in a call and they said no. But you don't know if that's going to be the same case in 3 months, right? And if you have good systems that continue to follow up with them, that no or that no-show could turn into a showed prospect or a yes in 3 months' time. And there's really two more things that I wanted to mention in terms of ads. Number one is that to see any significant results, you have to be spending at least $50 a day, okay? Anything less than that, yeah, I mean, maybe you'll get a couple of leads, but it's going to be insignificant. You want to be spending $50 a day as like absolute minimum, and you want to start to scale the spend as you go. And the next thing is you want to understand your cost per call metrics. How much do you have to spend on ads to get one call on your calendar? If you can get a good cost per call of like $100 to $150, maybe even anything less than $250, honestly, that's a predictable business. Because you know that for like $100 to $250, I will always get one call on my calendar. Then, obviously, you quantify how many calls you have to take for people to show and then for you to close. You can literally reverse engineer whatever goal you want to get to. So if it's $100K a month, you know, okay, I need to spend XYZ amount to get XYZ number of calls, and XYZ people will show up, and XYZ will close. That's the beauty of ads and running an agency, because it's literally predictable. You just systemize it, you take a look at the numbers, you crunch the KPIs, and then you can reverse engineer any goal of yours that you want. That's number one. Now, step two, outside of ads and acquisition, is going to be getting you out of the business. So the first thing that you want to do is, as soon as you are hitting 10 to 20K a month consistently, and the way that I judge that is like, if you've done 10K a month for like minimum 3 months in a row, then you're starting to build a little bit more predictability, right? So at that point, that's exactly where agency owners actually say, okay, you know what, I can do this stuff myself. But you can't, because in the long run, you will burn yourself out, and that's what will create the loop. So at 10 to 20K a month, you need to hire a VA. Don't hire like an ops manager or a CSM straight away. Hire a VA to get yourself out of the manual tasks of the business so that you can focus on more of the strategy, on more so of like the vision for your clients. And then obviously at some point, once you're starting to do a little bit more higher revenue consistently every single month, then you can start to hire a CSM, ops manager, COO, etc. And what this will allow you to do as the founder of the business is, now that you can start to delegate more tasks and maybe roles within the business, you can now focus on the highest leverage task, which is sales, ads, marketing, LTV, product expansion. Like everything that's directly correlated to making more money for the business is exactly what you focus on as the founder. And like I said, it's a whole separate role in itself, and you should see it that way. So that's the plan behind delegating, behind getting people into the business to play a CSM role, operator role, VA role, so that you can now focus on those 5 things or 4 things that I mentioned that's tied to making money for the business. And you'll notice that you'll really switch from being the operator of the business, like the person that runs the business, the person that's in the day-to-day ops and runs everything, to the visionary. And that's where you're leading the vision and the growth of your agency, and you're genuinely just dedicated to coming up with new strategies to make more money for the business. And I will tell you now, that is a whole separate role. I promise you, it's going to take time. And that's why, as the founder, you're focused on creating more freedom for yourself. But with that freedom comes that visionary role. That's exactly what it's designed for. You were supposed to have time to lead the vision of the business, to come up with things, to have time to think, right? Because if you just have the freedom, but then you just kind of piss it away and just relax, enjoy vacation, right? You're not going to grow your agency. Your agency is just going to be stuck, and it might even plateau, and now you have more bills because you have a team in place, and you have VH, CSM, or ops guy in place where you have to consistently pay them every single month, right? And the business has to generate new money every single month, right? So that's why you really want to understand that you are now stepping into a whole separate role, and that's what the freedom was created for. It's to have time for this role and to really have the time for yourself to think, and that's what you're going to be stepping into. Now, based on everything that I've mentioned so far from the 2 steps, if there's anything that you're going to take away from this video, run ads. Create a systemized channel of acquisition for you and your agencies that is predictable, so that you know that every single day you're going to be booking between 1 to 10 calls, XYZ amount of people will show, and XYZ amount of people that do show will close. That's the beauty of having paid ads, is to build a predictable acquisition system for your agency without you driving the sales, meeting up with your potential prospects, cold DMing thousands of people every single day, right? You don't want to be doing that. That's what paid ads is there to do for you. It's without you. It runs like a separate system in the agency itself, booking you calls every single day. And the next thing you want to do is start to take yourself out of the business by delegating more roles and more tasks so that you don't have to be doing the ad creatives for your clients. You don't have to come up with the copy. You don't have to build the funnels for your clients. Like, that's not what you should be doing. Your time at that point is going to be a lot more valuable. And that time should be associated with more strategy, more growth-led activities, more things that have high leverage behind them. High leverage meaning like it compounds over time, right? So content, ads, marketing, sales, LTV, product expansion, improvement in terms of fulfillment, everything that is directly tied to making more money for the agency. So if you feel like everything that I mentioned so far sounds good, but you are stuck, or maybe you don't have the skill set to do these things, or you feel like this is just all too much at once, book in a call with me, because we directly work with agencies between that 10 to 30K a month mark where they're stuck in that loop and they need help building a predictable acquisition system within their agency, but also helping the founder get out of the fulfillment so that they can build a business that they love, and a business that doesn't run them, but they run the business, and they are working on the business, not in the business. You are not a high paid employee. You are a founder. That's what you're supposed to be, and that's what we can help you with. So if you feel like that's something that you need help with, click the link attached to this video in the description. It's going to be directly to my calendar with myself. You're not going to speak to a closer or a CSM, don't worry. And we'll see if we can help you out and if there's a fit. And yeah, if everything makes sense, I'd love to work with you on the other side of the screen. But regardless, I hope you got a ton of value out of this video and a lot more clarity as to what you need to do right now between this 10 to 30K a month mark to scale your agency and to grow it as a founder, not a high paid employee. Thanks.